All right. So after those 3 initial courses, what are the other 2 courses that we are going to learn to make us DevOps engineers? Okay, so the other courses would be on top of those 3 that will make us DevOps engineers. And then first of all, what is DevOps? So DevOps means, as a cloud solutions architect, what you did, so what you did here was to go into cloud and set up infrastructure, right? I don't just want to say server or network. Let's call it set up infrastructure that will be ready to take in and deploy your application. But your application is not there. Now, this is the place of DevOps. In DevOps, another department of IT is going to write the application. It's going to write the codes. You write codes maybe in Java or in Python, in any programming language. This is your role. When developers write code, you as DevOps engineer, you will take those codes and you will build the codes into application. You build the codes into application. And then you would now deploy this application inside the infrastructure or into the infrastructure that the cloud solutions architect designed, built, architected earlier. So your app is going to run inside here. So this is the place of DevOps. So this person sets up the infrastructure and makes sure that the infrastructure is ideal for this application. However, he did not build the application. The application was built by developers. Again, developers that build the application will not deploy the application into the infrastructure. It is the DevOps engineer that will take the codes. In fact, these people did not even know that they built application. They wrote codes. It is the DevOps engineer that will take the codes and convert the codes to application and then deploy the application into this infrastructure. It is when the application is in this infrastructure that it is now available to all the millions of customers that are waiting to use the application all over the world. You get it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, the real work of the DevOps engineer is to automate this process of taking the codes, all right, and then releasing the codes here. It's not a one-line process. This work from the moment the code is written or modified to the point where the code is deployed to production. This place is called production because whatever is here is available to the whole world. So between here and here, it has to be automation. So this is the work of the DevOps engineer, the automation between here and here. So it is in this process of automation that we'll now talk about we are going to build this pipeline CI, CD pipeline that will use different tools along the implementation of this pipeline so that we are not manually doing this job. We are automating this. And that is where we are going to learn the tools that you saw in the advert. The G, the Maven, the Jenkins, the Docker, and so on. And so this is the big deal. After you have learned this part of the process and you are a cloud solutions architect, you now also learn how to take codes, build them into applications, and deploy those applications at this level, not manually, do it in automation. They have their own automation tools. Then you are now ready to go into the market as DevOps engineer, starting at least 100K.
Please, I have a request.
All right.
Okay, when you were explaining that's the work of a DevOps engineer, I didn't really get that. Do you mind maybe revisiting it again?
Okay. So I was saying that, first of all, did you get the solution architect part? Did you get this part?
Yes, I do.
So after you have built the infrastructure, or after the solutions architect has built the infrastructure, what is the goal? Why did you build the infrastructure? So that you can deploy application. Now, the application that will run Tesla, that will automate the car Tesla so that you can have the world, generally we're automating the world now. We're not just automating cars, we're automating everything. And that is the place for you as IT people. So let's even say we are automating Tesla. So the codes that would put in Tesla, or actually Tesla is not a car. Tesla is a computer. It's a machine that has wheels. So it has to be constantly connected to the server that is driving it, that is telling it, do this, do that. So when the cloud solutions architects stop at deploying the infrastructure and the server being ready, where do we get the codes from? The Tesla codes that will automate the car to put in the server. So Tesla would have hired or contracted like 3,000 developers across the world Of course, 90% of them in India, maybe 10% in US, or maybe 8% in US, one in Nigeria, one in China, and so on and so forth. So these people are building the codes, building codes. They are writing the programs, that's what I mean, that will run Tesla. So when they write programs, they make these programs available, like you will see, through different tools. So it is the DevOps engineer that will pull all of these programs that have been, some of them written by Indians, by Chinese, by Nigerians. The DevOps engineer will pull the codes and use a tool called Maven, for example, to compile all of those codes. All those 3,000 lines of code, everything will be compiled and only one file will come out from all of those codes. That executable file becomes your application. And then you run it on your system. Oh, it's working. It's working. All right. So the application is not for your system. It should be deployed in server where all Tesla vehicles can access it and know and then be able to run themselves.
Okay.
So now that you have compiled the codes and you have compiled all of the codes into a single file called application, you need to take this code now and take it all the way to server, to the infrastructure that you provisioned earlier on as a solutions architect, and put it in that server. Once it's in that server, all Tesla's cars have been programmed and connected through IP version 6 to that server. And they are now, oh, I'm aware now. I mean, they can see now. They have eye now, traditional eye, so to speak. And they can see. And all of a sudden, the car that was going this direction, because it's not connected to the code that tells you what to do, it's now knows what to do. Just like even humans are being directed and different bug. We actually believe, thinking along these lines, and that even humans are programs by some. All right. So the process of building an application out of those codes and then taking the codes and putting it in the infrastructure, or more specifically in the server that you have prepared for it, so that the whole world, in this case, all Tesla cars would see it. It's not a manual process. You don't run to India to say, have you built the code? Give it to me. China, have you built the code? Give it to me. Then you run back to US, you compile all of the code, and then you are looking for, no, it's not manual. Everything must be automated, so that as soon as the Indian guy completes his code, it triggers something along that production line, and then it will drop on the belt until it gets to the place where it be, and so on and so forth. So I'm saying that process is an automated process, and as DevOps engineer, you are going to learn all of the tools and how to use them to automate the process from the point the code is written all the way to the point when that code becomes an application, and that application is, let me give you an idea of what happens. That application is tested, that application is, a version of that application is made and saved locally, and then it is tested again, and then it is deployed in a local machine just to see that it is working, there's no error. And after that, you create containers out of your virtual machines, and then you deploy it into containers, test again within the container, and then once everything is fine, it is now deployed into containers that you build with Kubernetes on production. It is at that point that it becomes globally available. If anything happens during any of the stages in that process, it does not go further. It goes back and that error is corrected until it passes that stage before it goes to the next. So all of that is automated. Just like we talked about the automation of infrastructure, using infrastructure as code. There's also automation of application deployment, and that is the work of a DevOps engineer. So two kinds of automations, right? One automation would automate the setup of infrastructure, the source data. Another automation would automate the process of building the codes into apps and deploying the app into that data. So two parts. So the DevOps person should know both parts. You have already known the first one. In addition to that, you should also know the second part. So it is the process of automating the codes to application that I call CI. It means continuous integration. Don't worry, we'll see. And then the other part, from when it becomes an application all the way to deployment to production, that's the part that I call CD, continuous delivery or continuous deployment. is the name that we give to the process. Let me give you an analogy. So you have you drill petroleum on the rig, all right? But your refinery is like 500 kilometers away, all right? So once you drill the petroleum, the crude oil, you put it on a pipeline and it runs through that pipeline all the way till it gets to the refinery. At the refinery, it is refined and the different products, petrol, kerosene, and all of that is extracted from the crude. That's the scenario I'm trying to paint. The crude in this case are the raw codes, the codes, right? Written in India, in China, and all of that. And then pipeline that is set up is the process of automation so that you don't, as soon as you are drilling, simultaneously as you are drilling the oil, the crude oil, it is being pumped into the pipeline and the pipeline is leading it all the way to the refinery and it's going into the refinery and it's being refined. The whole process is already automated. You don't call tanker, our crude oil is ready, come and pull it so that you take it. No. It's already, the mechanical automation is equivalent to the IT automation that I'm talking about with codes and deployment.
Thank you very much.
I had right
for that explanation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So like from what you just said, to just reiterate what you explained now. Like for DevOps just entails collating that's programs written by developers and that's putting it together and automating the process towards deployment.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it's called DevOps. The dev means the DevOps person is between development and operations. So everything that happens from development, like you said, all the way till it gets to operations, the DevOps person is in charge. So that's why we write. Can you see my screen? Can you see the spelling of DevOps here?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So that is why we write this as dev. And then when we write the other up, we write capital O. So this is the operations, what I called production earlier on. It's also called operation. And this is the developer. So everything that happens between development, like Jesse explained, all the way till it gets here, this is the development and operation. Interfacing between operations.
Sir, one question, sir.